the Sonic the Hedgehog series. A series that you'd think would mainly be focused on playing as the titular Sonic Terrence Hedgehog, which in most cases you'd actually be kind of wrong, as the Sonic series is one that gives its players many opportunities to play as other members of Sonic's colorful cast, though the philosophies when it comes to Sonic's two different playstyles, the 2D and 3D games, and how they offer up these alternate playstyles, are pretty different to say the least. You see, while the 2D titles simply offer up these characters as fun little alternate playthroughs that more or less play very similar to the base game, maybe with an extra ability or two thrown in on top, and make it so they're completely optional so the player can just ignore these playthroughs if they so choose. The 3D titles tend to take both those notions and just throw them right out the goddamn window. Not only are these alternate playstyles often nothing like the speed-based gameplay of Sonic's standard stages, with some even veering into completely different genres of game, but every single one we'll be talking about tonight are required to be beaten to reach the game's ending. And while not necessarily a bad thing, heck, I don't even think there's one I'd personally say I dislike, but even the most staunch emerald hunting fanatic can agree this isn't exactly what people are expecting when they boot up a Sonic the Hedgehog game. And while that would be one thing, but coupled with how out of place some of these modes feel, they're also often criticized for being just straight up bad, with players often citing them as being half-baked, boring, completely broken, or suffering from large issues that just drag the whole experience down. Often, you'll hear people lament, "Yeah, this game could have been great if only I wasn't stuck with playing as Sonic's stupid friends." Though, remarkably, and this isn't even because I've played these games a ton, the only Sonic game I grew up with was Generations. Most of the games in this video I've played recently. But remarkably, time and time again, Sonic game after Sonic game, I've found myself to be something of a Sonic side mode savant. For whatever reason, even to the playstyles that seem to draw the most ire, I just sort of get them, and manage to enjoy them quite a bit. See, what I've picked up on is that there are usually two reasons a Sonic side mode is seen as bad. Either the game just does a fucking awful job at explaining how to actually play them, leaving most players feeling pretty lost, or the characters suffer from a horrible little control or game feel inconvenience that just bring the whole experience down. But as it turns out, I've discovered that all of these issues have surprisingly simple techniques that, I'm not even joking, completely fix the main complaints that most people cite when talking about these modes. That's right, no need for fancy fan-made patches or physics overhaul mods. All they require is either just a better understanding of how these modes are meant to be played, or just a little bit of hidden tech. All of which can turn a real dud of a playstyle into a pretty damn fun one. So, this is your guide on how to play as Sonic's stupid friends. If you like this video and find it helpful in any way, be sure to like, subscribe, and maybe share it around. Lord knows I need it, and being able to help as many people as I can with this guide would be pretty sweet. But enough shilling, let's get into the video. Oh, and since we're taking this chronologically, we're starting off with the big one, the OG game ruiner, and probably most maligned bad Sonic gameplay style ever, the dreaded Big the Cat fishing minigame. Now, I'm not going to get into theatrics over all these modes, but this one has a reputation. Hell, I know friends who haven't even attempted the Big the Cat stages and just skipped to the end of the game with a hack just because of the notoriety this big purple doof has. For everyone anyone who writes off the first Sonic adventure as just a rough transition into 3D, Big is no doubt the first thing they point to. Though, for all the hours internet Let's Players have spent screeching at this virtual frog and cat duo, in spite of how awful it's made out to be, the truth is, even with just a baseline knowledge on how to play as this character, the Big the Cat story in SA1 is pathetically, embarrassingly easy. Step 1. Find Froggy. He's right over there. Step 2. Get as close as you can to Froggy while being able to cast your line. Step 3. Throw your fishing line at Froggy and waggle it back and forth in front of his face until he goes to bite it. And finally, Step 4. And this is the part that trips everyone up. When he goes for the bite, when he's wiggling and jiggling on that line, you just press down on the stick to get it to actually hook. And then you get into the actual fishing minigame, and there's this whole song and dance thing you can do with tiring him out that I don't entirely understand, but Froggy's such a pushover that just holding the A button to reel him in and occasionally letting up on it so your line doesn't snap will probably get you him in like 5 seconds flat. And then boom, you got him. Do that 3 more times and you've just completed the hardest story in Sonic Adventure in less than the combined time that it takes to make a ham sandwich. Now, not to get too off track from the guide thing, but this always bothered me. Because, like, first of all, this is dumb, right? Why would you have to press down specifically to hook Froggy? Like, usually in these fishing type games, you could just flick the stick anywhere to hook a fish on your line. But why specifically down? But also, at the end of the day, I can't even entirely fault the game because the game does offer to teach you how to play it. Each character comes with a digital manual that's offered to you before you pick them that teach you the core mechanics of the game, including the whole down to hook Froggy thing. So on one hand, it's just like, why is this core mechanic so needlessly unintuitive? But on the other, if people are really having that hard of a time, why didn't you just read the fucking manual?
How to clear the game? Read it, okay?
But anyway, yeah, that's how you turn Big the Cat into a big joke. We cannot be letting this big purple fuck gatekeep us from peak in the big 2025. Oh, also cool bonus tip. If you make a bad cast or hook a fish that you don't want, you can actually press both the camera buttons to instantly reel in your line. I don't think the game actually teaches you that anywhere, so that's kinda neat. Now going from that, we're on to a quick tip with the second problem child of Sonic Adventure 1, Amy Rose. Now, Amy is funny because her moveset and levels should be baller. Basically, her whole moveset revolves around her hammer. Now, at a standstill, it's a pretty short range, mostly unimpressive attack, but if you can manage to get her up to a full run, pressing the attack button will turn it into a super jump, using the force of the swing to fling herself into the air, letting her soar over most obstacles. And that sounds pretty cool, right? The only issue is you're probably never gonna be able to use it when you need it, because her acceleration is the worst in the game. And for some reason, even slightly turning her as she's running will kill most of the speed she had going, making her an absolute slug. Now, that seems pretty bad, right? Now we're left with a pretty slow and miserable character to play as, with no way to use her coolest ability consistently. But have you ever tried just jumping? You see, for some reason, jumping as Amy will immediately increase your speed upon landing by a shit ton, and doing her air hammer attack move before landing will increase it even more, basically giving you access to her full sprint on a dime, and allowing you to get full hammer jumps pretty much anywhere if your inputs are tight enough, allowing you to just fly through her stages, and giving you so much more freedom when it comes to tackling obstacles. Honestly, this has to be the most drastic improvement of any character on this list. This turns Amy's story from a pretty joyless slog to one of my favorite sets of stages in the entire game. If there's one playstyle from this list you should think about giving another chance, I'd say it's Amy's. Just really fun. Now, on to Sonic Adventure 2. Probably the game most people point to when talking about the alternate playstyles issue. People love the action stages, but these other two character styles can just really make or break the game for some people. So hopefully this little guide will help make them feel a little less polarizing. Anyway, let's start with the easy one. The Tails/Eggman Mech Stages. Now, I'm a mech stage enjoyer, right? right, but I can understand why people don't really gel with their gameplay. Personally, I really dig the tighter platforming focus and high score based gameplay of these guys, but to each their own. But the main complaint I've heard of the SA2 Mech Stages mainly comes down to their feel. Mainly the fact that the mechs have the same turn speed as a fucking sailing barge. Making sharp turns with these on the ground takes 10 million years and kills all momentum you might have had, and that really sucks. But what some fail to realize is that this only happens when you're in aiming mode. Letting go of the attack button actually gives you far better and smoother movement. But I mean, let's be real, it's an SA2 Mech Stage. You're gonna have that fire button held down like 90% of the time. Is there any other way to make moving on the ground feel any better while aiming? Well, maybe not while on the ground, but who's to say we have to stay on the ground while moving? Yep. It's another Amy situation. It's a lot easier and smoother to simply just jump your turns rather than sticking with them on the ground. It's not super noticeable when first starting out, but once you get that hover upgrade, it's pretty night and day. You'll be rounding those corners like a champ and turning on a dime. But most people can tolerate the mech stages. No. Now we need to talk about the biggest hurdle when it comes to being a Sonic Adventure 2 enjoyer. The Tails in Rouge car driving mini games. Did you know that you can drift these bitches? Like if you hold the acceleration button but then let go and repress it really fast while flicking the stick in a direction, you can just drift around corners. I don't think a lot of people know that. It makes these levels actually kind of fun once you actually get the drifting down. It's kind of cool. Okay, but seriously, on to the real problem playstyle. The Sonic Adventure 2 treasure hunting stages. Now, unlike the other modes we've talked about, this is more so going to be a playing the stages guide, and it's going to require at least a little familiarity with these stages, so this might not be super helpful to completely new players, but I think it's still worth keeping in mind. Anyway, if you want to get a good rank on these stages, or just want to breeze through them as comfortably as possible, first of all, do not use the hint monitors. Ever. I find them to be weird and cryptic and a massive fucking waste of time. They're already pretty bad at default, but on the harder stages, they're even made to be deliberately shitty, so don't rely on them ever. No, the real way to play the Nux and Rouge stages is to simply route out a path to run through them as fast as possible. Get in your head all of the major landmarks on the stage, and just try to run through them as fast as possible until you get a blip on your radar, or even hit the jackpot and find a further emerald shard in the sequence out of order. Like I said, this is going to require some familiarity with these stages, but even with just a general idea of how these stages are laid out, this will definitely help improve the stage feel. And although it is a little trickier to navigate the more labyrinthian stages like Egg Pyramid or Aquatic Mine, you can make some adjustments to compensate. Like right here, I run around this big center room hugging the sides, because I know there are hallways and other little rooms right behind these walls. So if my radar doesn't go off, I can not only cross off the room I'm currently in, but also the hallways I was hugging close to. Or it'll go off, I'll look around and realize it's not here, and be like, oh, it's not here, but it's in that room. And also, if your luck is just really that shitty, honestly, don't be afraid to just reset the run. I find that 9 times out of 10, just resetting the emerald placements if I feel like finding one is taking too long, will yield even better spots than the first run I had going. Just plan out a route, get used to the stage, and in no time, you'll be finding those 3 shards like it's nothing. Oh, also, bonus tip, and this actually goes back to the Sonic Adventure 1 treasure hunting stages. If you're looking for an easy A rank here, you just find all the emeralds like you would normally, and then reset the stage and run as fast as you can to pick them all up again. The game doesn't actually reset the piece locations when you reset Knuckles in SA1, so it's a pretty easy way to cheese it. Alright, now on to Sonic Heroes. We're gonna kinda switch it up here as we'll be mostly talking about how to just play the regular ass game. Because really, this is a whole game based around playing as Sonic's really cool and smart and talented friends. And it's honestly a little more complicated than your usual Sonic title. First of all, if you're brand new to this game, know the character order. Team Rose, Team Sonic, Team Dark, and then Team Chaotix. Trust me, you'll have a lot more fun if you do it that way. I have no idea why they put the easiest campaign near the end of the list, but whatever, Sega. Okay, now on to the gameplay. Now, the biggest issue I find is people not really engaging with the game's mechanics. People don't understand the game's whole rock, paper, scissors dynamic it has with its characters when it comes to dealing with enemies, and they don't really understand the upgrade token system and what it even does for its characters. Instead, they just sort of hammer the homing attack button like it's SA2, hoping for the best. Now, I'm not going to get into the absolute basics of it all, because there's honestly tons upon tons of other Sonic Heroes reviews and guides out there that cover all that shit, and I don't want to be too redundant here. But there are a good couple of other little things in this game I want to touch on that'll make your playthrough even more rewarding. Well, for one thing, going back to the upgrade tokens, there is a bit of a hierarchy when it comes to who you should dole those out to. For me, it goes flight, speed, and then power. The flight character pretty much starts out the weakest, with a projectile attack that does no damage and only really stuns foes. But even just after 1 or 2 upgrade tokens, it can turn these tickle monsters into absolute demons. Not only does Thundershoot suddenly do damage, it does a lot of damage, pretty much insta-wiping anyone who doesn't have a shield or isn't a big hammer guy. Not to mention it being a homing projectile that can also be super easily spammed, and even chains off enemies. Even if you miss, you can just demolish waves of guys once you get this thing going. It's nuts. And anything it doesn't kill, it still stuns. It's pretty amazing. On the other hand, the speed character doesn't really need too much to get going. You get decent damage after a couple upgrades, and being able to homing attack enemies to instantly remove their shields does feel pretty nice, but it's certainly not as crazy as what the flight characters have going with them. But you know, still good to have. And with the power characters, well, when these guys are so much better at killing things, it kinda leaves the power characters out of a job, and honestly, this might sound a little bit crazy, but I think some of the power characters are better off without any upgrades. You see, what the first upgrade does for a power character is takes their basic 2-hit combo and gives them a little combo ender to do a little extra damage, which on paper, yeah, that's pretty cool, until you realize that the first 2 hits of your little combo are actually completely invincible, and that the third attack that gets added on, kinda isn't. So if you're dealing with a wave of egg Goliaths or any other horde that you just want to quickly melt down, as long as you're not upgraded, you can just hammer away at that attack button without a care in the world. I mean, it is a case-by-case basis. This doesn't work at all for the projectile power characters like Big and Vector, and honestly, Omega's attacks he gets after upgrading have nasty DPS, so this only really affects Knuckles, but it's something to keep in mind. On to the next combat tip, and this is actually a tip that will carry over to the other combat-based Sonic games, so keep in mind I'm going to repeat this a couple times this video, but just remember that despite this game having a combat system, you don't always have to fight everything. I see way too many people get bogged down by, oh, I want to like Sonic Heroes, but oh, the enemy spam. Oh, I just can't stand the enemy spam, but oh, the enemy spam. Well, unless there's a door in your way preventing you from going forward, you really don't have to deal with any of that. You're the fastest thing alive, man. Just blaze right past them, fly over them, power through them. And even half the time when there is a door, sometimes you can find cool skips to bypass them anyway, and it can be super rewarding. And also, nothing feels better than saving a team blast for an upcoming fight you know you have to take and just instantly ending it. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, be sure to pick your battles when you can. Unless you just enjoy killing the shit out of everything. In that case, more power to you. Though, speaking of blazing right past things, oh my god, Sonic just ran off the map and fucking died. Yeah, I hate to say it, but occasionally something like this might happen to you. The speed characters suffer from a nasty little glitch in this game. A momentum glitch where Sonic, or whoever you're playing as, will seemingly just out of nowhere gain way too much uncontrollable speed and fly right off the stage. Now, this usually isn't an issue for the parts where you're expected to play as Sonic. They're wide and open and usually have railings to prevent any mishaps, but if you try to use him in any sort of tight platforming scenario in this game, you've got a pretty decent-ish chance of shooting yourself right off to your death. If only there was a character type made for tight platforming.
Boy, I'm hungry.
Yeah, just use Tails, or whatever flight character you have if you're doing anything precarious. Whether you're crossing a rickety bridge, or even thinking about making any sort of risky jump, why not leave it to the character made for jumping? Yeah, he's like a little bit slower than Sonic, but he's still pretty speedy. But at the same time, way easier to control in tight situations. And even if you still somehow find yourself flying off a stage, hell, you could just fly right back on. Honestly, the flight characters are just goated in this game. I find myself playing as them most of the time. So yeah, if you don't want to die an embarrassing out of nowhere death, try using flight formation. Except for this jump at the end of Ocean Palace. That'll just fuck you up. Or if you move the stick in the beginning of Final Fortress, that'll just kill you too. Or this random loop-de-loop in Power Plant. Or this other random loop-de-loop in Power Plant. It's still Sonic Heroes after all. I swear this game is really cool. It's really cool. It's a really cool game. Okay, and two last random little tips before we move on. Number one, if you use Sonic Wind in the air, it kind of acts as a pseudo double jump, and that's pretty cool. And two, these fucking vines from Lost Jungle. I've seen way too many first-time players get walled by that big-ass alligator sequence at the end of the level. Once you get the timing though, it's really easy. First of all, don't touch the stick, like, at all. The game will fling you where it wants you to go. You just gotta trust it here. And when you're actually swinging on that vine, you're gonna wanna wait till you're at the apex of the swing and then hit the jump button. There's no momentum involved. You just gotta hit the top. And once you get the timing down visually, I like to sort of just get into a rhythm with the audio. I just wait a half second till after I hear this whoosh effect, and I just go whoosh, jump, whoosh, jump, whoosh, jump, whoosh, jump, whoosh, jump, and so on and so forth. Alright, now on to Sonic 06. Just play Project 06. Kidding. Well, kinda. Actually, I hate to admit it, but I am one of those does a big cartoon gulp dreaded Sonic 06 enjoyers. Like, it's buggy and Sonic is slow and has no physics, but like, man, that level design. It isn't always great, but when it's good, it's probably some of the best in the whole adventure style series. The levels are just so open, and there's tons of cool routes and little areas to find. It's just really fucking tight. Most of the time anyway. Sometimes straight up dog shit. It's kind of like, I don't know, watching a really well-written stage play in a genre you really like, but the costumes and stage backgrounds look like kind of shit, and then occasionally a character played by a really incompetent actor will come in and ruin the whole scene, and everyone just has to restart and take it from the top. When it gets going, it's going, but occasionally it will just fuck up on you. It sucks when it doesn't work, but when it does work, I get to do the Sonic thing, and that's all I'm really looking for. And also, I just kind of love weird jank 7th gen games, so sue me.
Spencer, there's no way out. You'll just have to fuck it.
And now, while not a side mode by any means, I do want to start off talking about Sonic himself in this game. And while it may not fix some of the glaring issues this game has, I've also noticed people getting just bogged down by how much enemy spam there is in this game. And something I actually really like about this game are the fun and effective ways to deal with enemies. So hopefully I can share some of those techniques with you. Of course, mentioning this again, you don't have to fight every single guy you see, but for those instances when you do want or have to trash a badnik, are these still considered badniks, by the way? What are these things called? There are easier methods than just homing attack, homing attack, homing attack, homing attack, homing attack. No, that's slow, and we don't like slow. Try this instead. If you just want to hit an enemy while on the run and don't want to stall your momentum, well, since the spin dash is pretty goddamn useless here, we'll have to rely on another often overlooked ability in Sonic's moveset, the slide. Not only will it keep Sonic's momentum going, well, as much momentum as this guy can get anyway, but also gives him a pretty active hitbox that'll shred through just about anything. Enemies, boxes, any kind of destructibles. And even for some of the wider big guys, you could just completely shred their health bars if you just wiggle and slide right through them. And the cool thing about the slide is that it'll only come out once you release the button. So basically, most of the time I just run around holding down X until I have something to hit and I just let it rock. But it gets even better, as after Flame Core, you then get access to the Bounce Bracelet, which if used after homing attack does absurd damage and will pretty much instantly kill any basic enemy in the game. Pretty nice. Okay, but onto the real interesting case. Silver the Hedgehog. The Psychic Warrior, in theory, should be super dope to play, but his slow speed and wimpy attacks leave people wanting more. But there are certain ways to make him feel a bit better. First off, everyone kinda already knows this one, but number one, don't hold down the button to hover. You can cross way greater distances if you just tap the button instead of holding it. Second off, if you use your psychic powers while standing on an object, you can actually use that to levitate, letting you skip some platforming segments if you're smart about it. Number three, once you unlock the slam attack, which should be right before Radical Train, just use that. Way more effective than just throwing boxes at guys. You stun them and you just pick them up. And the best part is you don't even need to throw them to destroy them. You just let them go and they explode. I always like to think Silver was just ripping these guys apart from the inside with his psychic powers like Ermac style, but in reality he's probably just dropping them on their soft spots. And finally, tip number 4, just use the box clip glitch to clip through the stupid ass ending to Dusty Dunes to save your sanity. Man, fuck that billiards puzzle. Sonic Forces. This game just straight up sucks. Look, there's nothing that I can really do to save you from this game's horrible controls and level design, but for the OC character, I can just give you one bit of advice. As soon as you get it, equip the Lightning Wisp-On. It's basically just the Hover Wisp from Colors, which is basically like the Lightspeed Dash from the adventure games, which is funny because there is a Hover Wisp-On in this game and it has a completely different ability. Weird, huh? It's the best Wisp-On for getting through the levels in my opinion, offers the fastest routes, and is overall the most fun one to use. Occasionally I get to look at a big line of rings and go, whee! And that's probably the most fun I'll ever have playing this dog shit game. And finally, the most recent Sonic game to date, well, basically newest, thanks to Recompiled anyway, we have Sonic Unleashed. The day stages are great, and the Werehog stages suck. That's what most people say. But what if I told you that Werehog was actually pretty cool once you got to know him a little better? I mean, I don't know, talk to him after work, invite him out for a drink, invest in his skill tree a little. First tip, it's a combat Sonic game, meaning you can run past most guys if you don't want to fight them. Hell, the game teaches you that lesson the hard way when you finally get to Eggman Land. I mean, just look at this. I'm not even giving these guys the time of day. I'm just solving the puzzles and moving on. It saves so much time in these stages. Okay, but back to that skill tree. First of all, you want to make sure you're only dumping your EXP points into the Werehog. Day Sonic's upgrades barely help him out at all. He's plenty fast already, and only maybe needs like 1 or 2 upgrades into ring energy to play well. You're better off just souping up his beast form. Now, moving on to what you exactly want to upgrade though. You mainly want to pour it into 4 categories. Strength, which increases your overall damage, skills, which unlocks you more of his really helpful combo moves, and then health and unleashed, getting you more health points and adding more to your unleashed meter. A meter you can burn to make yourself completely invulnerable, give yourself a speed increase, and even double your damage. The only worthless thing I wouldn't even bother with is shield, because I personally never use the damn thing. But, you know, if it's your style, maybe go for it. I don't know. Now back to the topic of those skill sets. The most important thing you have to do as the Werehog is actually use your combos. I know it's tempting to just mash X on all the bad guys like it's a fucking Lego game, but trust me, you're gonna have a much more fun and easier time actually using the Werehog's kit. So many of his combos are super useful for clearing out enemies. Got a group group of tiny annoying enemies swarming you? Use a combo that hits on all sides. Got a group of slightly bigger enemies? Use a launcher and do a ground slam to hit them all. You want to perform a hit and run? Use a move that doesn't slow you down. Have an enemy that abuses annoying iframes? Use a combo with long-lasting attacks. It's really simple problem solving. Though what's even more important is using these moves in your platforming. There's 3 big ones, all of which you should have access to either at the start of the game or pretty early on in the game. Starting with your launcher, the Werehog. Good name, by the way. If you noticed, it launches the Werehog up way higher than his basic wimpy double jump, and you can abuse it to fling yourself up high to ledges you wouldn't be able to normally access. But probably the most important one is your jumping XXA, the air spin. It's basically a triple jump that shoots you forward and also gives you mad air time. It can be used to save yourself if you mistime a jump, be used in conjunction with the Werehog to get onto ledges, and can even turn the dreaded tightrope sections in this game into a massive fucking joke. Now, the only thing that holds these 2 moves back, and honestly kinda holds back my enjoyment of the Werehog, is the fact that you can't use your grab out of them. So using them in any scenario where you have to grab a bunch of pillars or grab a ledge of any kind is kind of useless. But the last move we have here is the exception, the dash jump heavy. Now, at first this seems kind of useless since it shoots you basically straight downward for its first couple of seconds, but if you find yourself in any sort of platforming scenario where you have to travel downward in any way, this can basically break those sections right in half. Being able to grab a ledge after using one of these movement abilities is busted. And after that, I have 3 last bits of Werehog wisdom. First of all, did you know that you don't actually have to time the button to when the reticle shows up to grab onto something? You can literally just hold the grab button and Sonic will grab onto whatever he can as soon as the reticle appears. So you can play pretty dangerously and still be pretty safe, unless for some reason the grabbing reticle just doesn't show up and you just fucking die. The second one, I don't actually mess around with too much, but someone at home might get a little use out of it. Most of the Werehog's combos in this game can actually be animation canceled by using the shield. Like I said, I haven't messed around with it myself, so I don't know any real practical uses or any good combos to kill guys with, but hey, it exists. And finally, if you're planning on using the Werehog's finishing moves to take out a bad guy, always remember, you can always just cheat. And yeah, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Please do let me know in the comments section below if you found this video helpful. And hey, there's plenty of other Sonic games out there I haven't played. If there's a weird Sonic side mode you'd want me to take a look at, be sure to also leave a comment. I'd be more than happy to make like a little sequel to this or something. Anyway, as always, big thanks to my patrons, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.